Well, Todd Kelly, you said in New Zealand after the result there you've used one of your lifelines. Yesterday must have been pretty damaging.
Oh, it is. We've used two of them, but we only get one of them back with dropping around, so it's tough. It's changed the approach a little bit already for the championship to have 2 rounds like that so early, but at least I get to start from the front here and get a few points, unlike in New Zealand.
You're going to really have to capitalise on that today.
Yeah, well, the car was good yesterday. It was one of the quickest, if not the quickest, out there on the track. And if it wasn't for the gearbox, we would have had a good run yesterday. So should be able to score reasonable points today and at least try and survive.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks.
We've got Garth Tanner on the other side here. Yesterday, Garth, I guess you must have been gutted after starting such a great start, getting Mark into turn 1, and then over in turn 6, you had a little bit of a lock-up.
Yeah, just had a small lock-up going in. I tried to get off the pedal and get back on it again because you need to look after all your tyres here. You need them later in the weekend, and just ran a little bit wide and got on the sand, and then the whole queue came past, and they wouldn't let me back in. I was trying to get in and couldn't get back in, so back to 4th and got back up to 2nd. Then we had a slow pit stop, and that cost us a bit.
You look at your speed yesterday late in that race, you really come on strong. You got those guys behind you today in the reverse grid, so that's good for you to go through the field.
Yeah, I wasn't all that interested really in passing them yesterday because I figured if I passed them yesterday, I had to pass them again today. So, I was happy to get back to 4th, score the points. We had good speed, so just try and look after the tyres as much as we can and see what happens today in this second one. But don't know if I'm going to be enjoying coming from the back around here. It's going to be hard work.
Thanks, Garth.
Thanks, mate.
Well, there we have it. Race 2 is going to be an exciting one.
Daz, we're very much looking forward to it, and this is where it will play out. Neil Crompton talks us through the finer points of BARBAGALLO Raceway.
Hi Lee, hi everybody. Yes, this track is virtually surrounded by one giant sand trap. So almost every corner is a potential hotspot. On the flip side, the challenging 2.41 kilometre 7-turn layout also offers several solid passing opportunities. This is one of them, approaching turn 1. It's one of the locations where you can make a pass down the right side. But the shape and nature of the corner dictates you must make the move stick very early. Now, outbraking yourself in turn 1 is a very popular pastime here. It's easy to run out of road either straight ahead or run wide of the ideal racing line and find there's no grip out there in the grey area. The sand trap here rarely lets you off the hook if you do make an error. The next obstacle to deal with is a high curbing at the apex of turn 3. It kicks the car into the air so high that it pays not to take too much of that curbing there on the right. And if you do take a wild lunge off the turn 3 curbing, you can disturb your turn 4 entry. It's very simple and easy here to overdrive. Arrive too fast and deep into turn 4. Again, you go off, but at least you can normally climb back onto that part of the racetrack. The trap at turn 5 is allowing the left rear wheel to fall off the road and along or over the ripple strip. Over the years, a few blokes have found themselves pointing the wrong way there. Now, turn 6 is fun and the rules are very simple. Run off here and you're out in the desert for keeps. But it's also a decent passing opportunity down the inside under brakes. And it may not appear so, but the turn 7 approach is uphill. And this has the effect of encouraging the last of the late breakers. So just like turns 1 and 6, turn 7 is a trap in waiting. Go off, and it pays to take a bucket and shovel. It's also a classic location for passing down the inside. Now, the entry into pit straight also offers the possibility to crisscross your competitor. Sometimes a wide entry to turn 7 allows you to exit on a narrow line and you can sneak down the inside for turn 1. So, crank up the sound for a real world view of what it's like around this track. Let's join Craig Lowndes. The lap's less than a minute. We hope you enjoyed one hot lap with Craig Lowndes.
And reminding you that V8 Supercars 3 is now in stores. You can enjoy BARBAGALLO and all the tracks we visit. Real cars, real damage. the first one of the day, the second race of the weekend. And the important factor, as we've mentioned at the top of the show, this is a full reverse grid. Let's show you it. On the Mitsubishi Fuso starting grid, the Rat, Paul Radicic for Team Kiwi Racing, starts from pole as a result of his last place finish yesterday. And strangely, the Holden Racing Team's Todd Kelly. We've already mentioned his gear shift problems. That's why he shares that front row. And it's an interesting position to be in, Neil, and listen to many of the drivers talk about how they think they will play this one out, with passing being as challenging as it is on this 2.5K circuit.
And there's really no easy way of plotting solutions to those questions, because a short track like this one, where there's really only one racing groove and a passing spot perhaps down into turn 7, there's all kinds of different things that could happen, and if you think too much about it in advance of the motor race, it'll almost certainly not play out that way. Just referring back to Paul Radicic for a moment, brake problems yesterday in the Team Kiwi Holden. That was the reason why he had such a difficult first race and the reason why he's off the front. And look at all these big names down the back. Remember, the New Zealand in the reverse grid race, both Mark Scaife and Russell Ingall made incredible ground over the distance, some of it in the pit lane, some of it on the racetrack. Strategy could play a part in this one today. Compulsory pit stop, as we've detailed. And here we go. Craig Lowndes, Stephen Richards and Mark Scaife rear of grid, which means they'll actually start in the middle of turn 7. That's the Mitsubishi Fuso starting grid. All 31 of the cars. Should be a fascinating race.
Ingall told me on Friday, as a result of the reverse grid at Pukekohe 3 weeks ago, you have to bide your time, but if you see a gap, go for it, and go for it hard, and try and stay out of trouble. That's how he and Scaife made such significant progress. Our pole man, as we've mentioned, is Paul Radicic. He's driving with a broken rib. I'll tell you why in a minute.
Car in pit lane, I think it's car number 12, but I'll get confirmation of that for you.
You remember in New Zealand when Tiger Woods turned up with his caddy Steve Williams for that charity stock car race at a local speedway? Well, Radicic ended up winning it, but they tipped him into the wall and he had a little accident, and as a result he's driving with a broken rib. So the Rat is not enjoying this weekend.
Lee, I can tell you that for John Bowe, it's a leak from the differential. That's the word from Team BOC, so hard luck for John Bowe. He's in the lane.
This is a different car to the car that John drove in New Zealand. It's the original BA Model Ford that Brad Jones Racing built on board here with Mark Scaife for Armour All. And a Gremlins appeared. That crew have worked incredibly hard since New Zealand to resurrect a car for John for this weekend.
8 laps longer for races 2 and 3. Radicic and Todd Kelly on the front row. Let's go! Ricky Adello got a good jump as well in the Fujitsu Ford, but it's Radicic. There's a cloth on the track. They all try and gingerly make their way through turn 1, and there was 3 abreast there, with one of the WPS Fords squashed in the middle. Marcus Marshall's 4th, up over the turn 3 hill. On board with Lowndes, looking at Richards, Bright up ahead. Waiting for someone to make a mistake so you can capitalise. Radicic leads.
This race is all about the correct measure of attack versus patience. And for the fellas that we're looking at here who've got known speed, that's difficult sometimes to just sort of lay off for a moment and wait for things to unfold.
Look at them all diving for the inside down into the final turn, looking for an inside opportunity. It doesn't work that way this time round for Warren Luff. He's got the Tasman Motorsport duo right behind him. Radicic leads the opening lap. Look at the Tasman boys looking for a way through.
If you look right to the very back of that shot, that you'll see that Stephen Richards is in fact in front of Mark Scaife, and Scaife and Lowndes are disputing that place heading into turn 1, and Winterbottom's in there as well. So Stephen Richards has actually fared best of the key 3 guys at the rear.
Winterbottom's dropped back several spots. You're riding with Mark Scaife right at the back of the pack. And the same rules apply as was the case in New Zealand. It's the combined positions points from races 1 and 2 that determines where you will start the 3rd and final race. But at the moment, it's the Team Kiwi Racing Commodore of Paul Radicic over Todd Kelly.
Notice on that onboard shot, the Armour All onboard camera in Mark's car, you can hear that he's short shifting as he sweeps between turns 4 and 5 just to try and keep the car nice and straight over the top of the hill. of a wild ride on the ripple strip here for Mark Winterbottom. We're looking from the Stephen Richards perspective in the Jack Daniels Holden. And here looking rearward is where Lowndes got underneath Scaife. And that's Mark Winterbottom meeting the sandwich.
Will Davison in the V8 Telecom Falcon. He's got Jamie Whincup all over him. And the WPS Ford, there's the Gary Rogers pair of Lee Holdsworth, Dean Canto in the Repco Valvoline Commodores. It's been an unhappy weekend for Jamie Whincup, struggling with grip. Move on here. The Fujitsu pairing. A lot of team driving here.
Warren Luff down the inside. Car 26, Tony Ricciardello just displaced there. Probably a couple of cars are going to attack him now. Fastest lap of the race so far, Paul Radisich. Still under threat from Todd Kelly.
James Courtney now, guys. He's making some good moves through the back of the field. Watching me, he's just got past Owen on the lap before. Now moving up in behind his teammate in a long freight train behind Russell Engel. And Ross Stone said James is going to be really strong in this race. The car's getting better and better.
Engel had a peak there. Look at the pairings that are together. The two super cheap cars are there. The two Stone Brothers Fords are there. The Fujitsu Fords are together. The Tasman Commodores are together.
And they're sort of going nowhere at the moment, Lee. In fact, the leaders are creeping away. This group of cars that you can see here are all slowing each other down. You look down the order, they're lapping in the 59s. Staggering.
No carnage yet. There was much discussion post-Pukekohe, but so far, so good.
And what will happen here is the compulsory pit stop window will open, and then everybody will kind of second-guess the other guy because they don't all want to arrive in the pit lane at once. John Bowes back in. They did get the car out, so this is a return to the lane for him. They're running 3 wide down into turn 1.
McConville, Murphy. Murphy got tapped there. Ricciardello gave him a nudge. They're all trying to push their way through. Tander has made significant progress from 28th to 20th. He has been one of the big movers.
58.1, fastest lap for Todd Kelly. Once you get beyond about position 6 or 7, everybody's racing in the mid-59s at the moment, dramatically slower than yesterday.
Now watch car 51, centre of screen. Boof just gets a little nudge there. Paul Morris in the mix, Russell Engel there as well, both the Gold Coast drivers.
Now, this time, Todd Kelly puts a move into turn 7 and goes to the lead, passing Paul Radisich. Job done, but Radisich crisscrosses. He might actually sneak it back down the inside here. He's in position to do so and gets him.
Likes this track, does Paul Radisich. He's won here before. He enjoys the Barbagallo layout. I did an interview with him before for RPM. He said, what else could have gone wrong for me yesterday? Zinger replay, pass for the lead.
Radios have all come alive. Do we need to get you out of the traffic? That'd be a universal yes.
Guys, you've been watching the progress of the likes of Russell Engel and James Courtney here and worried about how they're going to be able to close the gap down on this front-running bunch that are running away. But Alan
Rear tyres only for Lowndes.
Traffic on the right, nicely done, away you go.
Trying to slot in, look at the congestion. Oh, and they're making nose to tail. And the problem is that Morris didn't fire up properly. He didn't get the car mobile. And they were actually making pretty heavy nose to tail contact, it seemed.
Lowndes was trying to bulldoze him out of the way, but it wasn't.
But he holds it all up at the exit.
There's Craig telling the story. Lowndes is in front of Tander, so that was a big win for Lowndes.
Pit lane stop, guys, it really looked like Garth Tander was a big loser on that. I could see at the beginning of pit lane here, he followed James Courtney down pit lane, but he's come out at the back of all those guys that stopped in that. So Tander, I'm pretty sure, lost out.
Carol, you are absolutely spot on, and Rob Crawford, the team boss at the HSV dealer team, tells me the reason for that, they've had a line failure of some sort for one of the rattle guns, so a slow stop for Garth Tander, and it put him at the back of that queue.
And that's 2 days in a row. He had a shocker yesterday as well and lost multiple positions. He will be fuming. He'd made such good progress. He'd made at least 8 positions.
Watch this. This is the departure of Lowndes, and here he is with Paul Morris. What's going on there? The Morris car must have
might have stalled, did it?
Stalled or coughed. Maybe he didn't get the pit lane speed limiter disengaged.
Oh, look at this. Mark Scaife and Mark Winterbottom. Contact there as well on the entry to pit lane. You can't afford to lose any seconds. As Kelly's in now. Radicic inherits the lead of the race, but he's yet to stop.
Very congested pit lane here, 31 cars barely fit. Service ticked off for Todd Kelly. There's Bright down the inside of Max Wilson. 57.9 is the fastest lap of the race so far. Stephen Richards, he's showing in position 12.
So the shuffled order is Radicic, Marshall, Gurr, Holdsworth, Canto, the top 5, Andrew Jones, Jason Richards, Will Davison. Turn 1 here, Tander on the inside of Lowndes. He's trying to make up one of those spots he lost in pit lane, but Lowndes will have the preferred line here. No one knows this place better than Tander, but Lowndes holds on. Good, hard, forceful driving, and Schaefer's got out in front of these pair, so that's a big win to the HRT man.
Well, both of them had bad pit stops.
Yeah.
So Lowndes getting tangled up at pit lane exit, and Tander having problems with the stop itself, as the boys detailed in the lane before. 7.6, 57.6. Rick Kelly, fastest lap of the race. Jason Bright's just done the first couple of sectors quicker than anybody else, as Tander now does put a move on Craig Lowndes at turn 7.
Now let's see if he can do anything about Scaife. Lowndes is not finished with yet, but Tander, rightly so, takes the inside and defensive line to protect himself.
Straight to the right side of the road. Whoa, he's giving him a big whack in the middle of the corner.
Neil, I might just jump in here briefly, guys. I think Todd Kelly's got another gearbox problem. The downshift heading into the opening turn just beyond the start-finish line here, it did sound like he was having trouble selecting second gear, and immediately the Holden Racing team have sprung into action here. Here's engineer Matthew Crawford talking to the boys at the moment. I'll come back to you, but a possible gearbox problem again for car 22.
Well, got stuck in 4th gear yesterday in the opening race. Maybe more problems for this man. He's into the pits again.
Stephen Richards, Neil had mentioned it, set the quickest lap. Jason Bright got up the inside of him about 2 or 3 laps ago into turn 1. Bright said yesterday, if I can get a clear run in this car, it's exceptionally got great potential under brakes, and now he has a bit of clear road, so Bright looking strong.
Paul Radicic still leads the race. 3.7 seconds is the margin. Marcus Marshall, and for the second day running, Todd Kelly noses the car into the garage. Very frustrating.
Seeing a replay of Lowndes nudging Tander, turn 1. Not much in that, just enough to unsettle Garth a little bit, but positions stay the same. And what does this guy have to do to win a trick?
And Tom Walkinshaw shaking his head, not happy.
Ready to go.
Greg?
We've just got Todd Kelly down here. Todd, is it the same problem as yesterday?
Yeah, it's a different lever, different gearbox, everything, but same problem. Hopefully I'll wake up any minute and this will all be a dream. I can't believe what's happening.
Hard luck, Todd.
Not a dream, it's a nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
And that'll put him at the back of the grid for race 3. So for the second round running, it's a semi-write-off for Todd.
Radicic for Team Kiwi leads by 4.5 seconds over Marcus Marshall, Alan Gurr, Dean Canto, and Ingle up into the top 5.
I just heard Russell on the radio asking Barry Hay if he could let me run long. So I think he's just going to stay out there and run a longer segment on this set of tyres. I need to see where he is relative to the traffic to see whether that's going to work for him.
Stopped early yesterday, and he said it's always a risk because that means you've got to run longer on that set of tyres, and I was a little bit unsure. We asked the question before, has Tander got anything for Scaife? The answer is yes, look at this. He's caught the race 1 winner and is filling his rearview mirror.
25th and 26th on the computer scoring for these guys, remembering some people have yet to stop. Warren Luff getting nose-to-tail contact there as Will Davison sneaks up the inside. Oh, this could end in a bit of ugliness over the top of the hill. Luff's off on the dirt and gets it way out of shape.
A wild ride for Warren Luff. And
Warren, does the front look as though it's rubbing or sound? Does it sound as it's rubbing?
This man here, Will Davison, was lucky to get through that one unscathed. He saw that all unfold right in front of him. And Rick Kelly wasn't too far behind either. And now they're swallowing up Warren Luff. Still many of the front runner in the order have not yet stopped for their compulsory.
Garth Tanders.
Good job, mate. Good job. Let's get into that good rhythm. Get into that good rhythm.
Garth
Right,
Tanders complaining on the radio that Scaife's holding him up. So a little bit of pressure growing there, but the reason he's holding him up is that he's got a whole bunch of cars in front. I had to have a little chuckle to myself when Warren Luff's engineer asked him about 1 second after he's gathering it up and getting it back on the road, can you hear anything scraping? I don't reckon that would have been the front and centre of his mind at the time.
Singer replayed, look at that. Nose to tail, it can't get any closer. And Davison right into the rear of Warren Luff. And this was before it all happened. Fighting over the same piece of real estate. Davison was sideways, but nowhere near as much as Luff as he went for a wild ride.
Yeah, once you're out there on the crest of the hill off the race line, there's absolutely no grip. So that was the reason why he ended up in the dirt. They rubbed as they went up there. Stewards will take a look at that.
And in the background, got a quick glimpse of Garth Tander really giving Scaife a good work over, and he's got him on the inside. Look at this. Oh, sideways into one. He got the position, now he's lost another one.
You'll be in trouble here with Craig in that position. This will be a replay of what we saw a couple of laps ago.
He's able to stay in front of Lowndes though. This is good, hard, forceful driving, and they're keeping it relatively clean.
For now.
Just off the top of my head, I would say that in the order of things, Jamie Whincup is the first car in the line to have stopped, and he's 9th overall. So that means we're waiting for Radicic, Canto, Gurr, Ingles, Stephen Richards, Steve Owen, Brad Jones and Ricky Adello to stop. Dumbrell on the inside of Luff.
Oh dear. And Luff to the pit lane. Dumbrell was right up on the... Oh no, I thought he... Goodness me. Holy smoke. I thought he was going to go to the lane then when he went that far around the outside.
Tander and Scaife slipped through on Dumbrell.
I doubt whether...
Breathe, mate. Have a
You've never
breathe.
seen one come from so far wide and then back onto the track after that Ripple Strip exit area.
Lowndes needs to get by Dumbrell and not let Tander and Scaife slip away. As far as on track, you're talking in the order of the mid-20s. Scaife is in 24th. Tander, 25. There is still a long way down the order.
Going to bring Russell Ingall in this lap. He's 4th on the road at the moment. Fastest lap of the race, incidentally. Todd Kelly, 57.4. So they've got him back out. Here we go again with Scaife down the inside of Luff.
Luffy's done the same trick again. That's a high wide line, all right. Around the outside of the Ripple Strip. On board with Scaife, looking at Tander as close as you possibly can. This reverse grid format was an initiative of Tiga. As Russell Ingall dives for the lane, so too one of the Team Surmay entries, 39, is Alan Gurr. And it looks like Tiga may get what they wanted. Simply a shuffle up in the order.
Make a change, you're going to help the rears. You're in good position because all the guys that are around you have actually been caught up in traffic, so you're going all right, mate.
Yeah, I've still got a lot of understeer. Don't do anything that's going to hinder the understeer.
You can hear the boys chatting away there. That's Barry Hay, Russell's engineer. The change they were talking about making to the car. It doesn't look like they made a roll centre change to it. They were talking about doing it, but you heard Russell there make quite clear to Barry Hay he didn't want to inject or cause any more understeer to car one.
Look at this angry group back there shuffling for positions. Scaife and Tander have been able to break free. Meanwhile, Lowndes is caught up in the traffic. Where does he slot into the order? Comes out behind James Courtney, so he is in the top 10. That has been a huge win for Stephen Richards. Considering he started second last, or right towards the back of the pack. Good work from Richo.
Strategy of having the car run around in clear air there for a while and extending the segment, the first segment of the race on that set of tyres means that the second set of tyres don't have to work for too hard, too long.
While we're in the break, seeing a replay of the then race leader, Paul Radisich, coming out ahead of Jamie Whincup. And that was a good result too for the Rat, because those guys now sit second and third. And this was an earlier move between the two Holden men, Mark Scaife, Garth Tander. Slick move this, Neil.
Yeah, just the normal crisscross on the exit of turn 7. We talked about that at the top of the show on the track map, something that you can do here. Mark's a little slow in the mid-corner. Maybe they've made some changes that haven't worked overnight on that car. He definitely doesn't have the pace that he probably expected to have, or maybe he's choosing to use and sacrifice a fairly scruffy set of tyres in this first segment of race 2. Run longer on them, knowing that maybe they don't have the grip, and then have something better to fight for race 3.
While we're heaping praise on Stephen Richards and Jack Daniels Racing, Greg Murphy deserves a pat on the back as well, because he started 18th and he runs 4th. And boy, oh boy, does he need that strong result. Whincup with the passenger side mirror dangling. Understandably, there's been much contact out there, but nothing like Pukekohe.
You will be weak on brake.
And that is Ludo Lacroix, Jamie Whincup's engineer, on the radio to Jamie, our round 1 winner.
The extra 8 laps will hurt today. Just 12 tyres allocated for qualifying, shootout in the 3 races. The surface has just gone away a little bit in the last 12 months compared to the 2 previous visits here. It's just starting to hurt the tyre condition a little. 140 Ks around here is a long way if you've got a car that's out of balance and not behaving.
Ultimately, in that shuffle out, that shakedown, with Richards coming from the lead in to do his compulsory stop, he is in the 10 in 9th position, behind James Courtney, ahead of Andrew Jones and Russell Ingall, just outside the 10 in 11th position. But Ingall will be keeping all eyes on Rick Kelly. The new championship leader. There's only 11 points in it as we stand right now. So Ingall will be looking for a result ahead of Rick Kelly. But remember, half points for this second race of 3.
Brad Jones leading the race, and he's lapping in mid-58s. Interestingly, looking at Stephen Richards, he's tangled up with some traffic with James Courtney in front of him. He's also in the mid-58s, so we're not seeing a lot of flash lap times here in this race.
And you're not seeing them from Craig Lowndes either, Neil. I just had a word to his engineer, Campbell Little. Craig's seemingly frustrated. He's been behind Paul Dumbrell for a number of laps now, and the word from Campbell, he didn't want to be specific per se, but it indicated to me that he didn't feel that the strategy, or the choice of strategy for Craig Lowndes in this race was quite right. Darryl?
Lee spoke about Greg Murphy before. I had a quick chat to him before the start of this race. I said, Murph, what have you changed on that car, considering yesterday they made some big changes to that car as far as the weight balance goes? He said, we've just gone another huge direction again, just trying to find our way. We really need to make some big improvements. Bargwanna really holding up James Courtney, and he's just run off into 1, so that's going to now give James Courtney and Richo some speed now, Neil, and bring their lap times down.
It's not a big deal.
So for some of them, they're on improved tyres now, so a little more grip, and they've got the fuel load down. We're sort of coming up to almost half race distance. Blue flag's going to be shown to Paul Dumbrell. In fact, it'll be a bad sportsmanship flag for Paul Dumbrell for blocking Craig Lowndes.
Does Courtney get into Bargwanna here? There's some rubbing down in turn 1. You were on the onboard shot with Bargwanna and you saw him have to correct and catch the wheel. This is onboard Stephen Richards. View it for yourself.
It's a difficult one, that, because James is on the brakes. Did he touch him initially and then a second time? I don't think he did. I think Jason might have got in there a little hot, wagged the tail. James is on the brakes trying to avoid, and then they've made light contact. So again, stewards will need to study that one. They have the added advantage of being able to take the digital pictures out of cars provided by the Touring Car Entrance Group as well, so that gives them the opportunity to look in more detail, and they can marry those pictures to car data to build a better picture as to what's going on.
Pretty handy work from Courtney as well in this one. He started 20th, runs 8th. That's the way you like to see it move. But passing not as easy as everyone expected in this reverse grid race. The most significant moves have been on strategy, on pit stop strategy. Engel is 10th.
And he was looking at Cam McConville in the mirror, just assessing the margins. There's a really good shot there of Andrew Jones in front of Russell Ingall. You can see the way that car was misbehaving across the bumps, just turning into turn 1. You wouldn't look at the track first blush and think that there were bumps that would upset the cars here. There's certainly a couple of critical places. One of them is down here. There's a crease in the road in the braking area on the run down into 6 that just upsets the nose of the car. And they can, if they're not correctly damped down there, they can porpoise a little under brakes. Pit lane is blocked. I think that's the Marcus Marshall car, looking at the colours there. So a heap of people rushing to try and get him out of the barriers. He's probably just slipped. There's very little grip available in the pit lane relative to the racetrack because of the dirt and rubbish on the road. So Marshall's attending. Marshall.
You know what I mean? And finally makes it to the Paul Cruikshank team's pit bay. He may have pretty significant...
The right front fellas has had a reasonably big whack.
Yeah, he's got steering issues. He's got problems there.
Tap. Can you turn the tap for the UGC bearings?
Back to it. Brad Jones is the race leader by 5.5 seconds. Yet to stop. Radisich is second. Whincup is third. Murphy fourth. Canto fifth. Holdsworth, his teammate, is sixth. Stephen Richards up to 7th. Courtney 8th. Andrew Jones is 9th. And Russell Ingall 10th. This man here, Craig Lowndes, 22nd position.
You can see the shift lights reflecting in his visor then as they illuminate green and then ultimately red, which means that they've reached the preset position for the gear shift, which is usually 20 to 50 revs underneath the 7,500 limit for the cars. A little bit more cloud cover again today, so it's progressively built up over the 3 days. It was clear and hot on Friday, a little bit more cloud around yesterday. The temperatures have been pretty even across all 3 days, but certainly more cloud today. Maybe not quite so much wind as we had yesterday, which was blowing left to right as Mark Scape would run down the hill here to turn 6, just from the north. Brad Jones has now peeled off, leaving Paul Radisich in control.
Scaife takes the fight to Mark Winterbottom. You're talking about 20th and 21st position. But again, reminding you that they will start race 3 on their combined efforts of races 1 and 2.
Brad Jones vanished off the computer scoring then, and now he's reappeared. So, in fact, he hasn't peeled off. He was just temporarily beamed up.
Hasn't been a terrific weekend for Team BOC. They've had their fair share of problems.
Marcus, I guess that's terribly disappointing after having such a good run at the front of the field there in the reverse grid start.
Yeah, you know, we made another change overnight and the team just keeps going forward, you know. Lee and all the guys have done a great job to get the car, you know, to the speed we had then, and maybe it wasn't enough to hold it, you know, maybe 20th or something like that, but just so disappointing when you got people that don't know how to race and they've been racing so long, you know. Like, a bit of room would be nice, and you know, I gave everyone else racing room. We had a good race with everyone else. Everyone got past nicely. But, you know, anyway, that's the way it goes. And
who did you have the incident with?
Steve Owen just not giving me any room on the outside. So, anyway, the way it goes sometimes. But, you know, just for Glenford's Tool Centre and AG, I'm very disappointed. You know, could have been their first good result, and it's turned into this. But it's just it's a tough game, and we'll be out there again, and we'll get on the front row next time, genuinely.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
That hurts. That puts Jamie Whincup into the lead of this race. And Radicic Murphy in podium positions for race 2. And there is Cameron McConville. While we're in the ad break, he had an altercation with another driver and was spun on the entry to the front straight. Here's your new race leader, and he's got a healthy margin, 2+ seconds over Paul Radicic. Zinger replay of Cam McConville and Will Davison. That tells it all.
Yeah, I think Will be in a spot of bother for that one. Pretty heavy contact in the right rear.
Lowndes to the right of your screen, gets by Mark Scaife. That was earlier while we were away as well. And Lowndes getting on with it. His race engineer, Campbell Little, told him, you've got to get by more. We need more points. Head down. So while one better electrical Ford is buried down in the pack, the other one is leading this race and leading it well. Pulled out another 0.3 of a second on Radicic then.
Lee, I can tell you that Mark Scaife isn't too happy with the state of his rear tyres at the moment, but Robbie Starr is just trying to guide him through. He said, come on, mate, you've got to keep pressing on. At the moment, we're at least on the front row for the final race of the day. So points and his position for the final race is what they're trying to keep him motivated with. I can also tell you, too, I put it to Robbie. I said, listen, if you compare your strategy with the likes of, say, Stephen Richards, who waited much later and got some good clear run on the circuit and a good clear run through pit lane, did you make the right call? And he said, well, that's the game we play, isn't it? We pitted early. Yes, it's probably on the conservative side, but if there had been a safety car, the game could have been very, very different for Stephen Richards.
Black flag and a drive-through penalty for Will Davison.
Well, Greg, further to your point, if you just want to compare apples with apples, Stephen Richards started on the same row as Craig Lowndes. Stephen Richards is 5th in this race. Craig Lowndes is in 19th. Simple strategy of staying out a bit longer could really pay. Oh, Scaife's in dramas. He's got dramas.
Keep it going.
Turn 4. The left-hander, he was almost completely off the track. Was he helped?
Rick Kelly's also on the radio howling about Russell Ingall. Feels he's holding him up, but Russell's also battling with Andrew Jones. So all of a sudden, as the grip's gone away, people are getting frustrated. Things are going wrong. What's happened here?
Who's up the inside there? That's Ricky Adello. Into the side of Scaife, and Dumbrell did well to avoid that. Locked it up, got it sideways and got through. Scaife will not be pleased about that. And just to get back to my point and finish off on Stephen Richards, the benefits of staying out a little longer and rocketing up the order for Richards, if he stays where he is now in 5th, he will be the new championship leader at the end of this race. That is a big gain. He came into the race 4th in the championship.
Well, that's very damaging for Mark Scaife. We just had Greg detailing the fact that Rob was counselling him, trying to just get him through, and despite the fact that he had no grip, but he was still in reasonable shape. Tangled up with Riccadello down there at turn 4. I'm sure they'll have a look at this. So he was tucked up behind Lowndes and then whack. And around he's gone. And Scaife at that stage was on the race line. You need to see all the angles to put it all together, but I would have thought that Tony might have just fanned the throttle a little bit there to avoid the incident.
Ricky Adello, we will see on several occasions this season in the Fujitsu Ford, and he'll also do the endurance races for Brytech. And I'd say he may cop an earful from Mark Scaife at the end of this race. He's a local driver, been doing sports sedans for many, many years.
You saw there was a shot early on when Craig Lowndes and Garth Tander were battling over there, and the last thing you need to be is side by side across turn 3 and into 4. You just can't really pull it off.
This is it for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Stephen Richards is in touch with this lead trio. and has been the biggest mover of the race. Sensational performance, and remember last year too, he didn't only win one of the 3 races, he won the round.
He's got a good car, it's working well, it's well balanced, and he just dealt very effectively with the traffic. The strategies worked well. Canto and Murphy side by side to 7. Greg's trying to do the little crisscross on the exit, couldn't quite do it. Having a think about it though. Dean's going to chase him right across to the other side of the road, so Greg goes the other way.
And just an amendment on that points update too that I mentioned about Stephen Richards. It was the top of the meeting points. My apologies, not the championship points that Richo would be leading. Back on board with Murphy.
So the order at the moment, Jamie Whincup, Paul Radisich, Dean Canto, Greg Murphy, Stephen Richards, James Courtney.
Look at Richards on Murphy. They come out of the base and out of cold corner. Richards has got an exceptional run. Looks up the inside, you sit beside him, and there's another one. From the second last row of the grid, Richards is powering.
Stephen's last lap there was a 58.9.
Courtney's enjoying this run. Look at Russell Ingall, he's under siege. He's trying to capitalise and get a position on Andrew Jones. Is he close enough? No. And he's got Rick Kelly, who he is arm wrestling for this championship, nudging him around turn 1.
Russell's been in behind Andrew Jones now for quite a while. Car 1 has just been shown, or will be shown, the bad sportsmanship flag. So Russell Ingall is going to get the flag next time round. So remember, I noted earlier that Rick was on the radio saying he's blocking.
I was just about to ask, is that for making life difficult for Rick Kelly or knuckling Andrew Jones? He knew that this reverse grid race would be hard. He said that at the end of yesterday.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? But from the point where I'm sure that the Toll HSV dealer team would have complained.
Rusty, you got a bad sportsmanship flag, mate. Try and keep your weaving to a minimum.
There you go, the word from Barry Hay. They would have looked at it for a while. The stewards, the race director, the driving standards observer, they just would have watched for a while to keep an eye on it because they know that Russell's also racing for position with Andrew. Barry nailed it when he said just try and keep the thing in a straight line.
Well, the boys have been behaving themselves. This has been a very clean weekend in comparison to Adelaide, the Formula One Grand Prix support races and Pukekohe as far as car damage is concerned.
One of the Team BOC cars also has run wide at turn 4 off the sweeper. Kelly's having a look down here into the final corner.
And Neil, don't expect Russell Ingall to yield very easily here. I've just spoken to his engineer, Barry Hay, and he said, you can forget it. He said, we're going to fight this one out. He knows that Rick's up in arms about it. He's acutely aware of that, but don't expect his man, Russell Ingall, to give up easily.
Well, provided Russell stays on or near the race line, he's okay. He'll only get in strife if he keeps shifting multiple occasions off the race line and then back on again. He ran a little bit wide in turn 4 there. Gathered back up.
Remember, Russell's MO this year is to defend his title. He said everyone was, after they congratulated me, criticising me, saying I'd get off the gas pedal, I'd relax, I wouldn't be able to defend my title as John Bowers in pit lane. That's exactly what he wants to do. And the bloke behind him leads the championship at the moment.
Rick's looking, but I don't think he's close enough. And Jason Bright's getting very close to the back of that battle now. This is 9, 10, 11 we're looking at. This is John Bower going off, or at least we saw Bow in the pits. I'm just assuming that it was John that had the problem here. Can't pick it from that distance. That's what the corner radius looks like at turn 4, and you can see that it cambers down the grass and the sand down there. It takes a while to come back on, but at least you don't get bogged in that location.
We're within the final 10 laps here in Western Australia. It's Whincup with a 4.5 second lead. He's on his way to his second race win of the year. Rick Kelly on the inside of Ingle. Does he pull it up? Just. Ingle will come back on the inside. Bright is laughing all the way because he's picked up 2 positions as the top 2 in the championship fight over this position.
Rick had a real lunge going down into 6, but ran wide in the process. Jason Bright was the winner in all that. And look at this, Jason Richards will buy into the battle as well.
This will infuriate Rick Kelly. Not only has he lost the spot to Ingle, he's lost another one to Richards. Damage on the left rear of the Toll HSV Commodore. You're talking about the final spot in the top 10, which Ingle occupies.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if Rick... Oh, problem here for Jamie Whincup at turn 4. A lot of dirt, sand, debris in front of that car. I wouldn't be surprised if Rick's got a flat spot on the front right tyre after blazing down. It was right here. It's a heck of a drive, isn't it? A great strategy from the Jack Daniels racing team. Put him in good position. Of course, Whincup going off has helped the cause. Zinger replay here shows Stephen down the inside of Greg Murphy. And he's showing 184 points so far this weekend. Here's the onboard replay down the inside of Greg. You know, looking at these lap times, Lee, this reminds me of what Barbagallo Raceway used to be like when the tyres got knocked around. I'll be fascinated to talk to the drivers after this one. I also wouldn't be surprised if a few of them sort of have chosen to try and keep better rubber for race 3, sacrificing lap speed performance in this one. But they are just struggling. Every second driver's on the radio complaining of no rear grip, and that's exactly the way it used to be here a few years ago before the resurfacing.
Mighty fine drive from Dean Canto too. He's in second place. He's challenging for the lead.
And Lee, probably what makes it even finer is that, remember, Dean's had a stint or 2 in the championship series, but was forced to go back to the development series. He's a 2-time winner in that championship and knows reverse grid racing very well. Quickly spoke to Roland Dane, team principal at 888. He tells me there was no problems for Jamie Whincup's car, be it brake or tyre issue. Unfortunately, this sounds like just an error on Jamie's behalf that cost him the lead.
And I understand that Jason Bright has gone off into the sand trap and straight ahead at turn 6, and there he is. He was on the radio talking to Phil Keed. He's buried it, bounced out the other side, and is up against the tractor tyres down there. And he was running pretty fairly from memory.
A lot of unforced errors starting to creep into this race.
It's a lack of grip. It's just having to drive the cars in such delicate grip condition. He's fired off, so lots of people under siege, making errors, slipping and sliding on the racetrack as Bright departs.
It's where Paul Radisich exited last year and Brad Jones ended on his lid. Do you remember that? Meanwhile, this is first, second and third with 5 laps to go in race 2.
Richo could win this.
Absolutely. And start on pole for the 3rd and final race of the day and perhaps win the round for the 2nd successive year. Scrambling back in the pack, Lee Holdsworth, Andrew Jones and Russell Ingle. Andy Jones on the inside, gotcha. And Ingle will line up for a shot. Not quite close enough to Holdsworth.
Andrew's had a difficult introduction to the team and the series again this year, but he's driving very well in this race. And that's good for him. Good for the team. Darryl?
Neil, the point that come out of Jason Bright's team here is that they say that it was a brake issue there or a lack of, but it's quite interesting when we spoke to Jason yesterday after race 1, he said that's one of the strongest points in this car right now is it under brake, so it's a little bit baffling, that one.
And I asked the race director Tim Schenken earlier in the weekend whether or not he would be likely to have the safety car intervene if we had a problem like that late in the race, and he said no, it'll be very much a random decision, but when we get to the back end of the race I want to have them run 5, 6, 7, 8 laps clean to the flag.
Switch to the inside, Rick Kelly still trying to get by Jason Richards. Look at the weaving and zigzagging going on here. Holdsworth trying to defend his line from Russell Ingle, and behind him it's Jason Richards and Rick Kelly fighting it out, and Garth Tander as well.
Rick Kelly's Rick Kelly's talking to Eric Pender, and Eric's telling him to stop whinging and think of the championship. He just keeps talking about blocking all the time. Whoa, talking about a bit of blocking going on here, bit of aggravation over the top of the hill between Radisich and Kando. It's all happening.
Something's happened to one of the toll cars. Someone slowed there. Was that Rick Kelly slowing? And allowed Tanderby back on board with Ingle. Frantic closing laps.
Car 33, Lee Holdsworth's going to get the bad sportsmanship flag for blocking. Here he is in the foreground. Russell will try and get up the inside.
Just watch your blocking, mate. Watch your blocking. Bad sportsmanship flag.
Well, Russell Ingle doesn't stick around and cop this for too long and squeezes through on the inside. And now Holdsworth will be hung out to dry. Through goes Jason Richards. The toll boys aren't quite close enough. Lee Holdsworth's only a young guy, new to the top level of V8 supercar racing, but invaluable experience mixing it with these guys at their experience level. This was one lap earlier on the Zinger replay. You're a brave boy to do that in front of Russell Ingle.
Yeah, but it didn't get any uglier than that, which was good. So they all managed to skate away from it, but ultimately it was dealt with by race control. It was almost on again here, and it was only
last
replay from the other angle, but the lap later they did almost the same thing, and it was only when they got the radio call that Lee buttoned out of it.
So the toll guys did switch, as we thought, heading down into cold corner on the previous lap. Winterbottom's lining up for a shot here at Rick Kelly. And it's Radisich with less than half a second over Canto, and the same margin back pretty much to Stephen Richards. So half a second between the top three. Look at this, all nose to tail. And while Radisich is on his way to win from pole position, and Dean Canto will be thrilled with a fine second if they stay as is, the hero of this race has been Stephen Richards in Jack's Black Rocket. There it is.
Important breakthrough for Team Kiwi as well. Oh!
Oh, he's been turned around. Canto has collided with Paul Radisich. He takes the win.
I almost got that too early, didn't I?
Whoa. How about that for a finish? It's not over yet. There was, well, we assume there was contact unless Radisich leapt very awkwardly off that ripple strip at the end. And the Team Kiwi boys will not be pleased. Something's gone amiss there.
Well,
Dean Canto wins the race, Richards second, Murphy third. But let's try and get to the bottom of that one. Zinger replay.
Oh.
The Team Kiwi boys were applauding his victory a little too early. What happened?
Looks like they made nose-to-tail contact. I thought it was all over at that point, but
let's take a look at this.
Unfortunately, you know what? I think as Dean is ducked out to the right,
he's caught the right
He's caught
side.
the rear bumper of Paul's car, and that's turned him around.
And Canto's gone on to win in controversial circumstances. Pretty much the only major incident of the race, and it happened right there.
Doesn't look like any damage or any paint on the back of the car either,
Let's take a close look at the front of Dean Canto's car. That'll tell the story.
There may have been a problem with Paul's car on exit. There's some suggestion that some of the radio chat is that the engine cut out for Paul on exiting the corner. So that'll need to be looked at.
Well, Canto is a first-time V8 supercar winner. Super performance. Steve Kramer from the team and all of the boys will be delighted. What a finish. What a finish. And the TKR boys quickly pulled back out of the way as Radisich went grass tracking. How about that? Extraordinary finish. And there he is. The diminutive Sydney sider, Dean Canto, a race winner in the reverse grid, as the VB scoreboard shows us, and Stephen Richards from 30th to 2nd. That will have Scaife, Lowndes and co scratching their heads. Murphy 3rd, Whincup and Courtney, and that's Courtney's best result to date as a V8 supercar driver. We search through the names for the big ones who were at the front yesterday, and it will be a very interesting grid for race 3.
Well, Richo, that strategy just worked great. You had good, clear air, made some good times, and it put you in a good position at the end of the race.
Yeah, it was spot on. I mean, the car had great pace even when the tyres were old. So really good, like unbelievably pleased. Just didn't take any risks the whole time. Just sort of saw the group of cars in front. Really wasn't too concerned if I caught them or not. But as it turned out, we caught them, and then just as we crossed the line, the rat has a lose.
That's the sort of thing you don't want to get tied up in. You know, you keep a clean nose for a long race. Looking to the next race, Banker tyres. What sort of laps do you have on those tyres, and how are they?
You know, we've got a great set of tyres left. You know, we played the same game as we did at Pukekohe, and we had some spot-on tyres for the end. So, no, we're looking pretty good.
Well done, Richard.
Thanks, mate.
So close and yet so far. Paul Radicic, what happened?
Pretty much, yeah. Look at the last 3 laps there. It intermittently started running on 7, backwards and forwards, and then we come to the last turn there and dive down the inside, and it just didn't quite have enough oomph off the corner, and Dean just clearly sort of drove me off into the grass. So, yeah, disappointing. One of those things, because it would have been nice to beat a reverse grid race, win something this year, but not to be. Anyway, we'll try again.
Hard luck, Paul.
Thanks, Rusty. No problem.
Dean, fantastic drive.
Yeah, thanks, Daryl. The guys done a great job. The car was really consistent. I think a couple of guys were suffering with brakes there, but our brakes were good the whole way through, and really looking forward to the next race.
Nice to have a battle there with the group. Richo came up behind you at the end there, but I think he kind of was thinking a lot about race 3 and that contact with Paul Radicic at the end.
Yeah, I think Paul had gearbox issues. Just before turn 4 there, a couple laps earlier, he missed a gear and I touched the rear of him and went wide, and then obviously the last lap, I think he had another miss shift or something, and it wasn't intentional, and unluckily Paul was sent off to the outside of the track, but the guys done a great job, the Gary Rogers team, and yeah, really happy.
Well done, and go get him in race 3.
Cheers, Daryl.